Hey guys, it's Josh again for the Build a Better Batman page here, and today I'm going to show you how to modify and repaint this Target Dawn of Justice Batman mech helmet. First, to kind of review the helmet, it's definitely a solid piece. I got mine on Target.com for about 30 bucks. It's made of like a hard PVC. It actually is two pieces and it hinges. And it fits rather well. I have a fairly big head. I have about just shy of a 24-inch head, and it fits with some nice room. So I'm planning on priming it, repainting it. Then I'm going to dry brush it to give it some real better weathering there. And then I'm going to install some LEDs in the lights, and it should make a really nice display piece in my Detolfs with my Hot Toys. Alright, so we're going to dive right into it. Alright guys, so much like the Ruby's video where we modified the grapple gun, we're going to use the same Rust-Oleum primer 2-in-1 filler sandable primer. Alright, so we're just going to liberally spray on. And if you get some bubbling, like I just got, you can take a brush and brush all that smooth. And again, this is sandable as well, so you can always sand it too. And we'll come back when this is all done. Alright guys, so the helmet is all officially primed from all angles. Alright, now I'm noticing one or two drip spots that are a little heavy. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to take a sponge and just kind of even those out just a little bit. If you rub some of the primer off, it's not a big deal. We can always apply a second coat, which in this case I am going to do a second coat in some areas. The whole helmet as a whole piece does not need a second coat, but some I feel like I did apply a little too thick, so I'm going to rub these out smooth as possible, and then we'll come back and we'll do a second coat of primer, and then we should be good to go to paint. Alright, so yeah, if you notice around here down by the eyes, this is looking a little rough. So, down by the mouth. Okay. Alright, that looks a lot better. So then we're going to very lightly perfect. Alright, so now we are good and primed. Alright, now we just got to wait for the primer to dry. Alright, which usually takes a couple hours, so I'm going to come back when it's all dry, and then we'll start the painting. Okay, so we are ready for paint. The helmet is officially primed. Alright, and I'll just show you really quick. Nice and even, and ready for paint. Now, when you find, if you find when you apply the primer, if you get some boogers and things like that, you can take a very light, if it's still wet, you can use a sponge or a foam brush and go it out nice and even. Or if it's already dried, you take a fine grit sandpaper, not too rough, and just kind of buff it out. And if it takes too much of the primer off, you just hit it with another coat and let it dry and you'll be good to go. But in this case, I'm very happy with the primer base, so we are going to move on to paint. Okay, so I'm going to use this Rust-Oleum Aged Metallic Paint and Primer in 1. This is the Weathered Steel color. This color looks really, really great, especially when you do some dry brushing with some black for weathering. This is actually the same color that I used for my foam Dawn of Justice mech suit. So this I've used this before and I've had really good results. Alright, so what you want to do is make sure it's good to go, nice and shaken. Alright. Now this color comes out kind of weird at first. It comes out initially a little darker than it usually is, especially when you shake it even really good still. So just kind of usually what I do is just kind of do 1 or 2 blasts off to the side, get any of that dark shit out of there. Excuse me. Alright, so we'll just very lightly, we'll start on the bottom jaw. And as you can see, or I don't know if you can, but I can, the helmet here, like I said, with the weathered steel, it sprays out kind of odd. So if you're not really feeling it, or if you feel like it might not be as even, what you can do is you can take a brush and just go at any areas that you feel like comes out a little too heavy or anything like that, and you'll be good to go. Now, the beauty of this paint and the mech suit in particular is that you don't really want a perfect look. You know, this is a suit that is meant to have some battle damage and look like it's been around the block, so to speak. It's like you rode Superman's ass into that pavement. So I'm going to start just applying this pretty good here. Now I find with this paint, like I said, it does spray kind of weird and it bubbles out. But you're better off applying it a little too much and then brushing out any bubbles or flaws, so to speak. Because I find it works best actually with one coat. So take this brush. And see some of these bubbles around here, we'll just kind of brush those out smooth. Alright, and then you just hit it again. And that's pretty much paint. I'm going to paint the back and then we'll come back when it's all dry. Alright guys, so the weathered steel paint is all done on the helmet and it came out really great. It's got a real kind of armored kind of look, especially since it's not, you know, that's the thing with the paint. If you're a stickler for like perfection, it may not be the paint for you because as you can see, it kind of dries like real steel. So it doesn't have a perfectly smooth finish, but it also gives off a very realistic finish. If you're not a fan of this, you know, you could probably go with a flat silver, flat gray, and then dry brush with different techniques. I myself really like this look. I think it looks very realistic. So next what we're going to do is we're going to take a can of black spray paint. I'm just using a Rust-Oleum 2x Ultra Cover Paint and Primer Semi-Gloss Black. Alright, and we're going to do the same thing we did before with some dry brushing, okay? So we're going to spray some on the brush. Alright, and again, you really only just need the edges, just like the edges of the brush. But then the trick is to brush most of the paint off. Okay? And then you're going to go to like a scratched area, say like up here, and start pulling different directions. Okay. Now the whole idea with this particular suit, and everybody's, you know, preference is different, I guess, how much weathering or quote-unquote battle damage you want. I myself am going for a nice kind of like weathered battle damage display piece, so I'm going to do a fair amount of dry brushing here. Also because I think, especially with steel, I think you definitely want some black on there for realism. And the thing is too, like on any sort of the edges here, as you'll see, pull down, pull up, go all different directions, and as you can see, it looks very nice and very realistic. So just keep doing some dry brush weathering. Okay, so all the dry brushing is done, and the helmet is officially weathered. It's more or less dry. I'm just going to kind of quickly show you some here of the detail. I'll bring this up. So as you can see, the dry brushing technique really adds some real kind of realistic weathering. So again, I know some of you may not have been crazy about the finish that the weathered steel gives you initially, but then when you dry brush over it, it gives a very realistic look. So this is more or less done. What we need to do now is there's a couple areas inside the helmet here. You'll see this how this bevels in here, here, and then on the inside of the eyes, on the upper parts of the eyes. Those are actually supposed to be black. So we're going to paint those. And then if you are so inclined, you can put LEDs in the eyes, which I may do as well. But this is more or less done in terms of weathering. So yeah, I mean, I'm really digging this. I mean, this thing went from being a $30 piece of plastic with a terrible paint job into a pretty nice display piece, and definitely even could be a wearable costume piece. I'll show this. I'm going to throw this on actually really quick. So as you can see, it really does look great. It's an awesome display piece. Chock full of detail now once you've repainted it. This is a little bit big on me, so I'm going to add some foam padding to kind of keep it in place from doing this instead. But yeah, I mean, $30 helmet, maybe 10, 20 bucks worth of paint and some time, and it's starting to take shape and look pretty damn awesome. The next thing that we need to do before we move on to the eyes is this lower jaw here. This needs to be black. All right, so we're just going to take some black paint and just rub it in, brush it on. I'm not going to bother taping this because, again, we're going for a weathered battle piece here, so if any gets on where it shouldn't be, I'll just blend it in. So as you can see, the lower part of the jaw here is all painted black, and it really pops out now, and it's much more accurate. And I'm looking at again, I'm using the Art of Batman vs. Superman book, and upon further inspection, when I was looking to make sure what pieces were black, in the mouth area, I actually noticed around the eyes are black as well. So we're going to do that now. So you're going to take the same black, just right in here, this little crease area here. There's not a lot, but I guess just that, just a little bit. Now again, might have mentioned earlier, depending on how you're planning on finishing this, if you're going to leave the eyes open, or if you're just going to put a mesh, or if you're going to add lights, there's a number of ways you can do it. The most accurate thing is obviously to install lights. If you're not all that LED savvy or electric savvy, I know there's people out there that will make you kits that you can glue in. It's pretty simple though. I mean, if you could follow this, I'm sure you could follow another YouTuber's video on how to do it. Alright, so that's one eye done. Let's bring her close. And it's time to do the second. Some paint. And I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, you can use whatever kind of paints you want. If you want to use acrylic, if you want to use spray paints, I guess it just depends on your personal preference. Once the helmet is primed, you can really do whatever you want, however you want. For this particular project, I think that spray paint works really well, just because it's a pretty it's a big object to cover, and also it's all more or less being colored one color and then dry brushed for weathering. So again, it'd be kind of tedious to sit there with a brush or a roller, or however you're going to paint it if you're going to use acrylic. If you want to use acrylic, you can.
I think I mentioned earlier I used the Rust-Oleum weathered steel for the base, and then just used a black to dry brush some detail on. So I'm just going to go underneath here and hit this as well. Make sure it looks nice and even. And again, like I said, if you get something on where it's not supposed to be, you can just really blend it right in. It's the beauty of doing a weathered or battle damaged piece, if you will. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm gonna, once you're done with the eyes and the mouth under here is done drying, just make sure you don't have any areas that you missed. If you have any areas that look a little light or need touch-ups, go ahead and do that. There's one or two areas here that I see that look a little questionable. So I'm just going to brush some other details in here. Okay, so bring her up nice and close. So the black in the eyes is officially done, and in the lower jaw as well. So it's starting to look really, really nice. So we're gonna let this dry, and then we'll come back and we'll start exploring options for the eyes. Black parts are officially all dry, and the helmet is done being painted. Looks really great. I'm really, really happy with it. It looks very, very accurate. So I'm just going to temporarily place this perforated mesh. Now you can get about 2 sheets of these at like a Michael's, a Hobby Lobby, Joann's for about $2-3, and they come in like a big 8.5 by 11 sheet. So just cut out a strip, something big enough to go in the eyes here. I'm not going to glue this in just yet because I'm not really sure if I'm going to make this my permanent solution or if I'm going to finish I've already started a light assembly in here, and I'll do a different video on that later. I'm not really happy with how the lights look behind this mesh, so I need to explore some other options. Alright, so I'm just going to really quickly show you here. I'm going to take the helmet here, and we're going to just take this in. Alright. And again, I'm not doing this permanently, so I'm just using painter's tape because it'll hold, for now. But I don't want anything too permanent. I don't want anything that's going to leave behind any sort of sticky residue. Once I go and glue whatever eyes I'm going to leave into the helmet, I will likely use hot glue or Loctite. Either will work in this instance, being that it's like a PVC resin type of helmet. Alright, so we're just gonna, like I said, tape this guy in there for now. Alright. And finally, we're done. So now you have eyes. It looks pretty great. Really, really happy with it. Again, I'm going to revisit on how to do the lights. I do have a light assembly in here. It's hooked up to a 9-volt battery. Click it on for you. Now I just have the wires loose in here, but if they were hooked in place, they would be something like that. But see, this is what I'm not happy with, is how you're getting all this glow down here. And I want to try to experiment on where I can put them where they're not as reflective on the bottom part, but also some sort of lens that maybe diffuses the light better. But I mean, it works for now. I'm going to do another video on the light assembly once I figure out a solution that I'm happy with. And I will definitely share that with all of you. So for now, this more or less concludes the build portion of the video. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape this light assembly stuff that I've created here, just so it's temporarily held onto place. Alright, and now I'll show you what it looks like on. Alright guys, so again, here's the finished product. I'm really, really happy with it. Gonna work on the lights, and again, there will be a separate video for that. But overall, I'm really, really happy with it. I think it came out really, really great. It started off a cheap $30 helmet with a terrible, terrible paint job, and turned into something really, really great, actually. I think it came out really, really nice. So, once again, tell me, do you bleed? You will. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching, and welcome to the page, Build a Better Batman. I'm super excited to get this community off the ground. Build a Better Captain America has become this amazing, huge community, which I'm very proud to be an admin on, and I'm really excited to get this page up and going. There's going to be a lot of videos on how to modify stuff and progress builds and things like that. So tell your friends, tell a Batman cosplayer, and let's do this thing.